Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Coffee with Bobbi. Today I'm having coffee with Abbie Wiggins. Abbie is a poet based in the United Kingdom, and she's writing daily words of hope and encouragement. She is passionate about the message of hope and being a light in the world, which is what she is trying to convey through her writing. And she's in the process of writing a new book. Abbie, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here today. What's been happening in your world?
Well, I mean, it's nice. What I was saying earlier is that we're kind of starting to come out of lockdown. So I feel like life's starting to get back going again. I'm back in work a bit more. I'm getting to see more friends, which is so nice. We're allowed to we're allowed to be in groups of 6 outside. So it's been nice to start connecting with people again. And after being a bit isolated for a while, it's nice to get back into that and just start building connection, because I think that's been something that's been really missing. And it's nice to just start building that community and connection again, which is something I'm really passionate about. So
I feel like for all of us, I mean, you're in London right now in the UK, and I'm here in Texas, and there's been a variety of, levels of lockdown and people's comfortability with different items and, having these restrictions and having to go more deeper into yourself at these points that we're grasping at straws for a connection. And I know for me, I'm like, I need people, I need to see somebody new, I need to do something new.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it's like for you, now having restrictions of 6 people. I couldn't even have all my family together, with 6 people.
Yeah. It's true.
But it's still just anybody that you can connect with, it sort of fulfills that need, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think so. It's just so nice to be able to just even it's weird though, because I'm kind of introverted, but even I'm I really need people right now. But it was funny because last week was kind of the first week I started doing a bit more, and I remember I kept getting home every night and just being so tired. It's I'm just not used to interacting with so many people anymore. But it's been so nice just to as I was saying, start building connection and community again, which is something that I really want to start doing more as well, just drawing more people together and creating safe spaces for people and things like that.
Are you talking more just in friend spaces or in creative community or just overall in life in general?
I think a mix of kind of online. So I love doing that through Instagram. I started a group that is it's called an encouragement group basically, and it's where we have maybe about 10 people in it, where we kind of just encourage each other. We're all kind of writers on Instagram, and we talk about our days and stuff like that, and we encourage each other in our writing. And I think I love doing things like that, where you can just encourage people and build that community, but also in person and with my friends, but also with my church. I love just kind of drawing people that I that could be on the edge, that don't really know many people, and drawing them into friendships and community. And I love doing that. So
it is so key and vital to life, I think. And you're taking it by the hand and going, I have missed this.
Yeah.
Here's a way where I can bring it back, whether it's online, whether it's in person, and just share the love with people and be like, you are welcome here.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. And I think that's what people need. People just need family. They want to be connected, and they want to feel included. And I think that's just so important, isn't it? Just to make everyone feel included and loved. So
And that is also what I've noticed throughout your poetry, because you are a poet and you're sharing this hope and inspiration with others. And it's just heartwarming to me, because I'm the same sort of person, sharing inspirational messages and motivation. But just when you can read it, I feel it has a different power. From when you listen to somebody say it to you, you're like, okay, I get it. I'm going to hear it on repeat. But when I see something written in front of me and you can just read it 100 times and then your brain processes it, you know, and it's just like, okay, I feel loved. And then you just keep telling yourself that like an inner mantra.
Yeah, and that's so nice to hear like from that side of it, because I guess I don't really get to see a lot of that side of it, like what other people feel like when they read it. So that's really good to hear. I'm glad that it has that effect on you.
For
I love
sure.
it. Yeah,
What
it's
has
really good.
inspired you to start writing?
It's really interesting actually, because it didn't start off like this. Like it started off as like I just wanted somewhere to write my like things I was feeling and like things I was thinking about. And I don't think it was very encouraging at the beginning. It was very different to what I'm doing now. But it started off as like just a place for me to get my thoughts out somewhere. And I love writing. I was doing a degree in English literature, so I was doing that when I started, and I just wanted somewhere to write. And I think like I actually did see like I saw like people like Atticus, like other poets like doing it on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know you could like use Instagram in that way. And then I discovered there's a whole like community of people doing that. So it started off like that, and then it kind of just transitioned over the years into like something more like I think well like something more like inspirational and like more hopeful and like powerful. Yeah.
And there's so much power in words, whether
Yeah.
we speak it, whether we write it, whether we are reading it. And it's truly a gift that you have. Have you always focused solely on like poetry? Because I know when you do like literature and, you know, writing majors and things like that, you have to explore a wide range of creative writing.
Yes. Yeah, we did a because even though it was a literature degree, we did a creative writing module, which it's kind of funny because I didn't actually enjoy it. Like I found it quite like stressful because we'd have to like with poetry we'd have to all sit in a circle and write poetry and then read it out to share with everyone. And I found that so stressful. I was like, I remember being like, I hate poetry. And this was before I like started. I was like, I hate this. And then which is so funny because now I'm like, that's what I do. So but yeah, we had to do like poetry, like prose, like all different kinds of things. But I think poetry is probably my favorite thing to write. And like I don't know, I think I'd like to start writing longer things, and like my dream one day is to like write a novel, so you never know. But for now I think I love writing poetry. But yeah, and I love just the message it brings and like how you can get across like a kind of theme or a message in like such a short way. Like I love it. It's so good. I love
The
writing.
span of maybe 20 words. Like
Yeah.
20 words can have so much power and
Mhm.
can really transform somebody's day.
Yeah, that's what I love. And I love like reading messages from people when they're like, oh, this is what I needed to hear, or like this really helped me today. And I love that, which is like why I do it, I think, just to like if I can bring like hope to one person, that's worth it for me. I wouldn't even mind if just one person was reading it.
And that's when you know that you love what you do. Like there's no judgment there.
Mhm.
You're just in it because you absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And you want to keep creating it. You want to keep making that impact. And when you realize that one person can really change the world, like the
Yeah.
dominoes start to fall after.
Yeah. And I think it's like like learning like that social media can be used in that way, because I think like there can be quite a lot of negativity around like social media, and like it can be a bad thing, but I think also like we can use it in a way that is positive and that like helps people, and we're on it quite a lot, so it's worth using it for that way.
Right. I mean, you choose what you want to see in it. If you
Yes.
are seeing a lot of negativity, maybe it's a sign, like back away from those people and start getting more
Yeah.
positive light into your life and
Mhm.
follow people like Abbie or myself and, you know, people who are
Mhm.
sharing that positive light that today is going to be a great day and there's hope and there's inspiration out there.
Yeah, I love that. And like that's what I love, like you as well, just being like a positive voice and like speaking life into people's days. And because we read like so much online that's like negative, and I think it's good like just to be that voice, isn't it, to bring like positivity and hope to people.
For sure. I mean, we're surrounded by the negative noise with the news and what the latest
Yeah.
lockdown measures are, coronavirus reports, and there's so much that can fill our minds with. But when we have gratitude and when we realize, like, oh,
Mhm.
like today there is a reason to live today. There is beauty in the world today. And sharing this with others, like, makes my heart sing, and I know it does the same for you.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll like go back and I can read like stuff that I've written. I'm like, I actually need to hear that myself. Like, even when I write something, I'm like, I should actually listen to this as well. So it's for me too.
I love that you say that. Do you ever feel like when you are writing this, that it's a
Mm.
message that you need to hear yourself?
Yeah, sometimes, or like something, well, like, or like a message from my like younger self. Because I think, I don't know, like I know I have a lot of like young girls following me, like teenagers and like kind of my age people, but like I don't know. And I think it's like thinking, what would I need to read like when I was that age, and like what would I be wanting to see like on social media. And I think I've got a young audience, so that's like really important to me, just being that positive voice, because I know what it's like to be that age, and there's so much like negativity around. And I think,
For sure, from
yeah.
middle school, high school age, teenagers,
Mm,
even in the university, like in your 20s, there's so
mm,
much going on in life where you're trying to fit into those groups or find your place. And, you feel
mhm.
like the world's going to end some days when you don't have the right shirt to put on to fit
Yeah.
into the group. And when you can share that, like, life's not going to end, it will be okay. You'll get through this breakup, I promise.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
a
exactly.
sounding board that people need to hear, especially the
Yeah.
younger generations.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of what I write like speaks into like identity and things like that, because I think it's just so important like to know like who you are, and like to know that you're loved, and that just to be like secure in that, because I think then that's like the foundation for life. Once you've got that, you're pretty much like set. So I think that's why a lot of it's to do with like love and identity. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel it's so powerful. Love and identity. Like, let's dive into this a little bit, because it's not only like
Okay, let's go.
loving yourself, like having that self love, like that's an element of it. But I
Mhm.
feel also that so many of us are feeling like external judgment or letting fear come into our lives more. And when you realize that when you come from a place of love, it counteracts that fear and the worries and the heaviness that you can weigh on your shoulders. And, you know, when you hear it from an outside perspective, that's when it really hits home. Like, even if it's writing, whether
Mhm.
you have to say it in your own voice to yourself, but when you're like, I feel loved today, or there is love coming my way, things like that, I think it can really transform life.
Yeah, me too. And I know like I've really struggled with like fear and like not accepting myself, and I've gone through like things like that. And I'm not saying I'm like 100% through that now, but like I think like love is the only thing that can actually like help you overcome that, because once you know that you're like loved and accepted no matter what, then like everything else just kind of like falls into place, because you don't need to worry about like if you're accepted. You don't have to worry about if you're like, you still feel like fear when you're doing things, but that's not like the thing that's gonna end everything. Like if it goes wrong, and then it goes wrong, but you're still loved, so it doesn't matter.
And it's not going to stop you in your tracks.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it still gives you that place where you can step out and
Hmm.
say, like, oh, I'm going to do this today. Like, there's no extra judgment. Sure, like you said, the fear might be there, and the fear never leaves.
No, it
Like,
doesn't.
no matter how old you get, how much you're stepping out of your comfort zone, like, it's still there. But
Yeah.
for me, it like diminishes the more that you do that thing that that you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And I think like another example would be like making mistakes. Like I have really struggled with like if I made a mistake, I would like immediately think like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. Like not like I did something wrong, but there's something wrong with me. And I think that's something that I've really had to like go through, and is also something that the kind of whole remembering that you're loved and accepted has really helped, because like that's just something like so powerful, because like even if you make a mistake, even if you do something wrong, that's not the end of the world. Like you're like nothing about you's changed. Like you're still loved and you're still accepted. And I think that's been such a big journey for me, like over the past few years, just learning that okay, like I can try new things, because even if I get it wrong, it doesn't matter. Like it's not the end of the world. Like it doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change like that I'm loved. So I think that's been quite like a journey of like freedom for me. I don't know if you've
For
gone through like
sure.
anything similar.
For sure,
Yeah.
definitely freedom. And also when you that the failure doesn't define you. Like just because you made that mistake, you can learn from it, but that's not the end all be all to life, right?
Yeah. And like if you never try anything new, you're never gonna like learn how to do new things. Like you're never gonna I think you're not gonna grow if you don't let yourself try new things. So you just like really need to like learn that it's okay to make mistakes. Because otherwise you're not gonna grow.
Definitely, you're going to stay stagnant. You're going to stay in the same
Yeah.
bubble. You're going to be at the same level. And when you start having like the comparison syndrome of,
Mm.
somebody over here is doing amazing things, why aren't I? And then you realize, well, I never stepped out. I never
Yeah.
took a chance. Like, now's the time. Take the chance. Do what's on your heart and go for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think like if you have something on your heart that you really want to do, like why not? Why not just go for it? Doesn't matter if it goes wrong, because I think you don't want to always be wondering like what would have happened if I'd tried that thing. I'd rather like do something and get it wrong than think back and be like, I wish I had done that. Which
Right.
is something that I'm really doing recently. Yeah.
Why didn't I try this years ago? Why do I have to have this regret 50 years down the line of
Yeah,
what
exactly.
if? What if I did
Yeah.
this? Now, do you feel that this sense of like coming from a place of love and identity and the aspect of failure and how you've had this transformation over the past few years,
Mm-hmm.
was that sort of rooted from your childhood a little bit of like
Mm-hmm.
always trying to set yourself to a high bar and a high standard, whether from your family or external people in your circle, or has it always been one of these things for you to try to overcome?
It's really interesting. I love thinking about stuff like this. It's interesting because I think for me I feel like I've always kind of had high standards for myself, and like just not letting myself like do anything wrong, like always trying to be perfect. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure it comes from school, to be honest, because I think like I had a few like moments in my childhood where I'd like kind of made a mistake at school, and like a teacher had like reacted in a certain way that then made me feel like, oh, I need to be perfect, like I can't ever make a mistake. So I think it definitely comes from that, and I think a lot of people struggle with it because it's definitely like the system of like that schools have make you never want to make a mistake, and then that can like transition into life. And I think that's definitely something I've gone through. But I think what's really helped me is like just like coming out of school and like having people around me that just accept me no matter what, and like that I know like I don't need to be perfect around this person. I don't need to pretend to be like somebody I'm not. I can make a mistake and it's fine. And I think it's actually been like actually making mistakes that's helped me, because then I've learned, okay, like I've made a mistake, but the people around me still love me the same. They still accept me. And I think that's something that's been really like powerful for me. And it's something I want to do for other people as well, which is why I love like just kind of making everyone feel included and accepted. It is so powerful.
Definitely. And I want to dive into this school aspect because I was very similar to you when I was
Okay.
in school, and like parents were stricter and harder on education, and their realm has shifted because I have younger siblings. So the youngest,
Me too.
yeah. So I'm sure you can feel the shift from what like they focused on when you were a kid to when your younger siblings are kids in
They
education.
definitely get away with more. My younger siblings.
Get away with more and put them more lax on different things. And
Yeah.
I mean, it happens to all of us, like as we age and as we know what's important, you know. I don't hold it against my mom at all or
No.
anything like that. It's all a learning experience for me. But I was like one of these straight A students, like scholarly, like always want to get high marks. Like that was the focus. You're doing your homework, you're getting it done right. And I even taught at the university level for a little bit.
Wow.
And it's like a weird perspective when you go back, like when I was teaching, yes, grades were important to students, but at the end of the day, for me, it was more so like seeing the growth and seeing what changed in the students' lives. I mean, I was just teaching Spanish language and Spanish grammar and culture, but still like having those impactful conversations and, you know, seeing the students that I had in class now today who are doing incredible things. And they're like,
Wow.
your class meant so much and it was just a Spanish class. Like that means more than any grade. And when you get that mentality in your mind that, you know, yes, sure, grades are important and you can learn from them and so forth, but it's not the end all be all. And you have more freedom in learning and experiencing new things through education.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so powerful. And I think it really reminds me of like when you like speak to people, you have so much power. Like the words you say can really impact someone. And I think that's something I'm really passionate about. Just like thinking about the things you say to people, and like you literally have the power to either encourage somebody and like change their day in that way, or say something that's going to affect them for their whole lives. Like, so I think that's why I'm really passionate about the message of like kindness and encouragement, because it can have a really huge impact. It can change someone's life. So it's really important.
I wholeheartedly agree. I was actually reading about this today, and it's been the book of devotionals, and you know, in the Bible, it talks about, you know, your words speak life. You know, you
Yeah.
have the opportunity to speak life into others, and that was just hitting home, and it's coming right back in the just
Yes.
talk and discussion. It's like it's here, like you have the opportunity, and when you hone in on that and hone in on that gift, like you would much rather speak life into somebody instead of bring somebody
Yeah.
else down.
Yeah, and I think in that way, like going down the like Christian like path, I guess, like I think it's just like acting like being like Jesus, because I always think about, okay, like how would Jesus treat this person? Like, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing, because that's what we're called to do ultimately, is to be like Jesus. So I think that it really like connecting to that for me, and like that's where it comes from, I think.
And it comes from that heart of love.
Yeah,
When you
sure.
realize that and you come from that place of like, you know, striving to be like Jesus and be like God, and like what would he do in this situation? And it's not always judging others, it's like coming from that place of love.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good.
I
Love
know,
it.
I love it. I love how like deep dives happen. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Me too.
What are some of your goals for poetry? I mean, you've talked about also, you know, writing a novel in the future. Like, let's
Yeah.
dive into some of this.
So right now I'm working on a book, which is very exciting, which I don't have an exact date yet, but hopefully releasing it in the summer. Um, yes, so I'm self-publishing it on Amazon, so it should be out in the summer, hopefully. I'm really excited about that. And that's kind of my main goal for this year, to be working on that. And it's something that I've always dreamed about doing, like publishing a book. So that's really exciting for me, and I can't wait for people to be able to read it. And I think it's going to be all about this message that we've been talking about, like hope, encouragement. So I hope that like people read it and they can like get that. It's
Are
great,
you
yeah.
doing just solely a Kindle version, or are you doing Kindle and print?
Print as well. So yeah, you'll be able to get it in print and Kindle, both.
Yay!
Yeah.
I can't wait to order it.
I'm so excited.
So I went through the Amazon process. It's been like 8 years ago of doing the same similar self-publishing thing. So it at times it gets sort of like tedious and you're like, I don't know about this. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is so worthwhile to go for it and actually do it. So I'm super excited for you. It's a huge step and I know it's going to be successful.
Oh, thanks. I'm really excited. I think the like more challenging part for me is like the whole formatting side of it. The writing side, I'm like, yeah, that's fine, that's good. And then I have to like do all the formatting. I'm like, oh no. But it'll be fun. I'm watching lots of YouTube videos about it.
Ooh, nice. So I'm not for sure how they do it now, but I'm trying to think of the site that I use. There was a site that I found that like helped format everything into the right way. I'm sure you can do it on Canva now and multiple other platforms too.
Yeah, I'm using what's called Affinity Publisher.
Okay.
So that's quite helpful because it kind of gives you like the margins and everything you need to do, because that's what I was struggling with. So there's so much to think about, but it's really exciting. I can't wait for people to be able to read it.
For sure. And that's one of the aspects that people don't think about when somebody on the outside hears about self-publishing a book. They're like, oh, great, like your words are amazing. But then you also have to put on the hat of a designer and an editor at the same time. And then be like, oh, wait, like, is the formatting proper? Like, if I flip this page, can I still read it on both sides? Is the text too far over?
Yeah, it's exciting. Well, my sister's actually helping me. She's an artist, so she's helped me do the cover, which is really, really fun.
Ooh,
it's fun to be able to work with her. Yeah, it's good. She's helping me with it, which is helpful.
Art does she do?
Well, she's actually doing a degree at the moment. She's doing I'm gonna get it wrong, so sorry, Becky. It's like hair and makeup design. So she's kind of learning about how to do like hair and makeup and things for like TV and film. So that's really exciting. And she did art at like college, so she's amazing. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see this when it comes out, and I know it's going to be not only an amazing step for you, but also for anybody who reads it, just having this, open up a page and have hope and inspiration for the day.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited.
Change lives.
It's so crazy to think about like people having it in their houses. It's crazy to me, but it's really exciting.
Yeah, you'll have to start something where if people buy a book, they have to send you like photos of it, and
they have to.
photos of where they're taking it, and then you'll be like, my book made it to the beach, my book made it here on vacation.
I know, it's even crazy to think about like people in different countries having it. Like, it's crazy. So exciting. I love it.
Well, I will have one for sure.
Oh, thank you.
You've already got one sale in the US, so count it.
That's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And then you're also doing prints, right?
Yeah, I've just started doing that actually. So I'm doing like handwritten versions of my poems. So like, say if people really like one of my poems, they can like order a handwritten version. So like if someone orders one, I'll like handwrite it out and send it to them, which is really fun. So that's been good actually. Yeah.
That's amazing. Are you doing it more on like fine art paper or just normal notebook paper?
No, it's on like A6 card. So yeah, it's really fun. They look really cool. I'm excited. That's also cool to see people having like my poems in their houses already. It's literally crazy to me.
And it is art. So the reason why I was asking, because there's so many different forms, whether it's a card or, like the fine art paper, or, it could even be a torn off sheet of paper or a coffee cup, but in and of itself, it is art in its purest forms. And just having that, I think there's something to be told about, having words written out and being able to hold it in your hands.
Yeah, it is really amazing to think about. And just thinking of people like being able to read it every day and having that hope is amazing. Yeah.
Whether you stick it on your mirror that you see first
Yeah.
thing in the morning and every time you look at it, or in a notebook that you're flipping through multiple times a day, or in a picture frame, or it really does impact so many.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's amazing. I love words. They're so powerful.
Where does your inspiration come from? A little bit. I know we
Ooh.
talked a little bit about it, but like, is it, or more so your process? Do you just sit down and write for a certain amount of
Yeah.
time every day, or?
Well, it's interesting. So mostly it comes from like time I spend with God. So like if I like, like normally I put on like some worship music in the background and or just like lots of the time I like kind of ask God what he wants me to write and then I just write that. So a lot of it comes from that place. And then also thinking about what I would have needed to read when I was younger, what I would need to read now to be honest as well. But yeah, or like thinking like sometimes I think of it like as me like as a big sister like writing to like younger siblings or things like that, because I have two younger sisters, so I think of it in that way as well. So it kind of comes from a few places, or like conversations that I hear, like if I hear someone like say something, or sometimes things that my friends say to me, I'll like take something from that. So it's different, but mostly comes from God, to be honest.
I love that, because I can relate when you have these moments where, and some people listening will be like, how in the world can you say it comes from God?
I know.
And they don't get it and they don't understand it. But I can feel you, like God speaks to us in so many different ways, and in ways for each of us to listen. And for me, like I do morning journaling and writing, and sometimes like I'll be writing stuff and I'm like, where did I even come from that? And it's those
Yeah.
moments where you connect with God and it's like, God's leading me to write this. And if I tell this to somebody outside, they'll just be like, who are you? Like,
Yeah.
how did you connect with this in this way? But that's how I hear God. And
Hmm.
for you, it sounds like it's very similar of just like being in
Yeah.
that moment, being in that place to like fully listen and just come to those
Hmm.
moments.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just me like kind of making the time like to be just to kind of like sit and just be like, okay, God, what do you want to say to people today? And like, what do people need to hear? Because I have no idea. Like, I need to like listen to him. But sometimes like it won't be like I'll hear I don't literally hear like a voice saying this. Like I sometimes kind of get a word and then I'll like base it off of that word. Or I'll just kind of be writing and like it will just come to me in that moment. So it's not like I hear like, I know some people do hear like the voice of God, but that's not how it happens for me. So it's more
Right.
just
No,
like,
I can
yeah.
relate where it's like, oh, I'll start writing something and it'd be like, oh, a phrase comes up and so forth.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Just to make it more like I don't actually hear a voice. So yeah, that's kind of how it happens.
For those of you thinking that you can't connect with God, this is not true at all.
Yes. Yeah. And like I did used to think that. I was like, oh, maybe I can't connect with God because I can't hear like an actual voice. But I think that's not how he speaks most of the time, even though he does. He does do that. Yeah.
And there are multiple ways of hearing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
whether it's like intuition, whether it's, through writing, whether it's through a voice, whether it's through an idea, maybe it's through meeting somebody who like sparks that. And then you
Mhm.
come back and you're like, wow, this was really a God-led experience.
Yeah. Or like sometimes I'll have like a picture of something in my mind and then I'll kind of write it off based off of that. Because a lot of the time God speaks to me through like pictures or like yeah, or actually nature as well. Nature's a great way to like get inspiration. Just going for a walk and like hearing what's around you and yeah.
How has that impacted through the lockdowns? Have you felt like your creative process without being able to go outside as much or different things and be less surrounded by people, have you felt your creativity sort of stifle, or have you still been able to create?
I think it's definitely been a mix. Like I feel like there have been like months, like so I had a few months when the pandemic first happened that I didn't really write a lot because I think I just needed time to like process like by myself, and I wasn't really feeling very creative. So I definitely have moments where I'm not. But then also like right now, for example, I feel like I'm really like getting into my writing, and I think, but I definitely have to be like intentional about it. I have to set aside time and be like, hey, I'm gonna like go for a walk right now, or I'm gonna do this, like to kind of give myself time to like pray and think about like what I want to say and things like that. So I think it does kind of come naturally sometimes, but I think sometimes you also have to give yourself time and like be intentional about creating space for that to happen, because it, so most of the time it doesn't just happen naturally. You have to kind of like give yourself some like headspace, I think.
And nudge yourself to be like, I'm not going to watch Netflix right now. Like, this is my time to write. This is my time to go out and explore, to get new ideas, to think.
Yeah, definitely. And I do watch Netflix as well. So I had have to be like, yeah, it does distract me sometimes. But,
Do you ever feel like, I know as a creative myself and different times that when you know that you should be writing something or should be doing something creatively or speaking something that somewhat scares you a little bit, where that fear enters in, that you try to push it off to the side and be like, oh, well, I'm not going to do this yet. I need to, I'm going to finish this show first, or I'm going to do something.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that kind of is part of the reason why I ended up having times where I like didn't write for months, because I was just putting too much pressure on myself, like thinking, okay, because I will most of the time I'm posting every day and I don't like do them in advance. I do them on the day. So I think I kind of can get into like mindsets where I'm like, okay, I have to write today, like I have to do this. And then that's when I'm like, no, I don't want to be doing it, because that for me is not what I want to be like putting out there. I don't want it to be like forced, and I want it all to come from like to be like authentic, and not to feel like I have to write something, like, but to feel like, okay, I want to like post this, I want to write this. So I think as soon as it gets into that place for me of being like forced, I need to take a break, which is what I have done in the past, because I think with the kind of stuff I'm doing, that's not where I want it to come from. I think there are times where you have to like be disciplined and be like, okay, like I need to sit down and write now, but like you don't want it to be forced, if because there's no pressure. All the pressure's from me, so no one's forcing me to.
And you have to give yourself grace
Yeah.
throughout the entire process of like, you know that it's not going to happen instantaneously. And you also know that if you, it comes from a place of being forced in, like the words don't have the same power, or this,
Yeah.
it may still have the same power, but for you yourself, like it may not have the same full meaning.
Yeah. And I think there can be like a lot of pressure with social media to post every single day, like because if you don't, the algorithm's gonna like affect you. But and that's kind of why I went through that time of being like, okay, I have to post today, I have to do this. But now I'm like, I don't mind if I take a day off, because I never want it to be like to feel like I have to post something, because to me then it doesn't feel real. Like I never want to feel like I'm being fake on like my Instagram. So I think it's just interesting, isn't it? Because there's so much pressure around social media, and like that's definitely affected me before, like especially like thinking about like how many likes you get, like how many people are engaging with your content can be such a big thing on social media, and it's like such a huge focus. But I think I've come more to a place now of being like, it doesn't matter if something gets like no likes or like a big amount of likes. It just, for me, it's about if I like give hope to one person, like I said before, like that's enough. That's all I want it to be about now. So that's definitely taken the pressure off of me.
For sure, I can imagine. And when you come to that place where it's like the world is not going to end if I
Yeah,
don't post today.
exactly. It doesn't control our lives, so like we can just leave
Right.
it. It's
Sure, it may
fine.
not be seen by as many people in the algorithm, but when you know it's coming from a place of love and that you trust that it's going to reach the right person that it needs to reach,
Yeah.
that's when I feel like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. And I feel also like as a creator, and you're always posting different things, and you're always like trying to make sure it reaches and analytics and so
Yeah.
forth. But when it's time to press pause and like step back a little bit off of the gas, it's like, okay, I can breathe a little bit more. And when life gets balanced a little bit or it shifts where it needs to go, then you can press gas again and go hard on whatever you need to do and then like pull back as needed.
Yeah. Like it's like learning how to rest and like let yourself breathe, because I think when you do that, what you put out there's going to be so much better because you're giving yourself space and time. Like, and just, I don't know. I think that's really important. I think so. I've started just taking like Sundays off of posting, which has really helped. Because before I was like, I just post every day, like, but I think I'm realizing that's not that's not what I need to do. It doesn't actually matter if I don't post every day. Like, I'd rather post a few times a week, something more like genuine than every day, something that I'm not really proud of. So definitely.
Yeah, go 1,000% in or not at all.
Yeah, which
Like,
is very much my personality, like 100% or nothing. Like, so that's why I need to be careful.
right, right. This is not to say, Abby, don't create on days where you don't feel like it.
Yeah,
There's still that
it's
balance,
funny.
but I totally get where you're coming from. Like, give yourself break, try to give yourself rest. That's something that for me is like one of the hard points that I struggle with is learning how to give myself rest and how to like turn off different things. And
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, like pool day is necessary if it's hot out, or, you know, relaxing a little bit more, or giving myself more grace on different things. But then
yeah,
there's also times where I'm like, I've got this deadline, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then you're all wrapped up and you're like, what happened to the rest?
yeah. What do you feel like helps you rest, like when you need to like have that time? Just to see if
Mm,
we can like, if anyone's listening that's like struggling with that as well, and what helps you to rest?
For me, like being out in nature,
Hmm.
for sure, whether it's like just grabbing some sunshine outside, if I happen to be where it's warm, like making myself relax in the pool
Yeah, that's
or
great.
just lay out outside. I'm I'm like really active, so I love fitness and running and cycling and so forth. So it's forcing myself on the days where
Mm.
my body doesn't feel like it wants to be pushed to its limits, to actually listen to it and say, no, it's okay to just stretch today. It's okay
Yeah,
to do yoga. It's okay to just go for a walk. And that, that really helps because I've been on the opposite spectrum before of, you know, super like hustle culture. I used to be
yeah,
in event marketing, working like 70+ hour weeks, and your body just gets burnt out and you're just go, go, go. And then I've also had it in the past too, where it's like your body's hit with high inflammation because I never learned how to rest.
yeah,
And it's like, pause, like, here's the train wreck happening. You got to stop now, or, your body's not going to survive this. And
yeah.
those are the points where it keeps coming up, like you got to listen, like
Mm.
listen to yourself. Like if you need to pause and step back a little bit, like just do it, even if it's an hour a day, even if it's taking the whole day off, different
Yeah,
things to make it work.
definitely. And I think there's definitely like such a thing of like hustle culture and being like, you always need to be like doing something and then like feeling guilty when you're resting. And I think that's so like, that's definitely something that's been happening. And I think it's learning how to rest without feeling guilty, like not feeling like you have to do something all the time. Just taking time for yourself is so important.
For sure. And for me too, I studied in Barcelona. And when I first moved there, I was 21. And it was like a wake up call coming from the US of everything super fast paced, with the majority of places being closed on Sundays, to just force yourself into this rest mode and sort of like quiet down. And you know, there are times in life where it's go 1,000%. And then other times where it's like, okay, maybe I should go back to these moments of like incorporating the rest and taking that day to just like have a quiet day, and the world's not going to end.
Yeah, and I think you can be so much more productive when you've done that. Like then the rest of your week's more productive, even because you've let yourself rest.
For sure. Like your headspace is there, there's clarity, you think clearer, you're in a better mood, you're not so agitated or anxious or worried as well.
Definitely. I've definitely found that. It's helped me so much, just like learning how to, like, that it's okay to take time for yourself to do what you need to do to feel like rested. It's like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all. What would you tell a younger writer or somebody out there, maybe they're not even younger, but they would love to write and like taking their writing to the next level?
That's a good question. I think just not putting pressure on yourself, like just writing, just start writing just to write, like get what you want to get out on the paper without putting pressure on yourself to write something perfect. Because I think it's so much easier to just write everything you want to write first and then edit it afterwards. Like, because you can't, I definitely am guilty of this, but like trying to write something perfect first time, it just doesn't work. You need to like get out the ideas on the page first and then go back and edit. That's something that's really helped me. I think just investing time into it, because at the end of the day, what you invest time into is what's going to be like the most, like the best thing for it, to be honest, because you need to give yourself that time to write without like putting the pressure on yourself, basically. Just give yourself space.
Yes.
No pressure.
No pressure, give yourself space. That is the key to writing and the key to taking it to the next level. I could chat for hours with you, Abbie.
Me too.
Such an
so nice to meet
inspiration. What has been one of the biggest blessings for you over the past year?
I love that question. I think just deeper friendships, because it's interesting. Like, even though I haven't been able to maybe see my friends as much, I've definitely built like deeper connection with most people, because you kind of have to be more intentional about, like, even doing like a Zoom call, like when we can see people, you have to like put time into your friendships, and you're not just going to like see people day to day anymore in your usual activities. So like, just I've definitely spent more like quality time one-on-one with my friends, which I'm really grateful for, because we were basically allowed to do like a walk with one person for a while, a few months. So that was actually like a real blessing in some ways, because I got to know my friends on such a deeper level, because all you can do is like walk and chat to each other. So it's definitely been a huge blessing. Yeah,
I can imagine, because it's these times where, you know, we all feel isolated and we're lacking that connection, and then it's right there and you're like, wow, I really got to know my best friend during this time, where we went so much deeper than what we had in the past year.
Yeah, definitely. It's so good. Yeah, that connection is just so important. I definitely want to keep that going.
Oh, I want to hear all about it, and how the community is growing and how things are changing and going to new levels for you, Abbie. I'm so excited.
It's so nice. It's so nice to chat to you today.
Yes. Where can people find more out about you, social media, website, etc.?
Search Words by Abbie. That's what my name is on everything. But mostly I do Instagram. I do have a Facebook page, but I need to use that more.
Wonderful. Wherever you are watching or listening to this episode, check the caption, check the show notes. You will find direct links to Abbie and all of her amazing poetry and words of inspiration and hope and light. Abbie, it's been such a blessing talking to you today.
You too.
So excited. Thank you for coming onto the show today and having coffee with me.
Thanks for having me.
For everybody who is listening and watching to the show, I'm going to leave you with one thing today. Take that time for yourself, take the time to rest and learn how to rest so that you can become clearer, have more clarity in life, and also be more productive. It's not going to kill you to take an hour out of your day and just rest.
Yes.
And this has been another episode of Coffee with Bobbi and today's guest, Abbie Wiggins. Thank you so much.